did this research surface any meaningful trends around how AI is changing the threat landscape, either for better or worse, for attackers or defenders?
So it did. And first, I want to talk about a resource that we use and a resource I want everyone to consider as they're out there, because, as I'm sitting here trying to prioritize my budget, and one of my favorite sayings, and you're probably sick of me saying it, is, as a CISO, I have $20 worth of problems in $10 budget. And so, how am I going to optimize this? And so as I look at how to protect AI, and especially it keeps changing. So one of the great framework is OWASP. OWASP is a volunteer-led organization that focuses on how to protect your web applications or your internet-facing capabilities. And so across OWASP, they first came out with web attacks, then they came out with API attacks, then large language model attacks, and now they've come out with agentic AI attacks. So Gen AI versus agentic AI, an oversimplified definition is agentic AI makes decisions where Gen AI just answers questions. Well, if you have something making decisions, should this person get a loan? What's the right medical decision? Is this contract executed and should they be paid? Criminals want to get into that decision cycle and affect it. And so OWASP put out a couple papers, and they made basically the OWASP top 10 for agentic AI. And this is making, both process and technical. On the technical side, it's like, what is goal hijacking? What is tool misuse? What is memory poisoning? Those kind of very technical. It also helps you understand how to do things on the back end processing. And with anything, you need API protection in front of it because it's coming through API. You need DDoS protection in front of it because it can still be taken offline. On the back end, you still need microsegmentation for visibility as it tries to use this as attack vector. But ultimately, what we're talking about here is using this OWASP and the threat modeling in it. And that's one of the things we use here is, we use that as we build our security protections out there.
Since we're talking about AI, and of course, a lot of work is going on to also help defenders, Anthropic, ChatGPT, a lot of work is going on in this space. Can you talk about some of the models that are coming out that even you are impressed with?
So I think the one that we're hearing about most right now, and most of the large organizations are doing some variation of this, is the Anthropic Mythos Glasswing. And that came out saying, they found just a large number of vulnerabilities, some in systems that have had these vulnerabilities out there for multiple years. In full disclosure, that is embargoed to a certain number of companies that have a large impact or a large footprint within security and infrastructure in the internet. Any given day, 20 to 30% of the internet goes across Akamai infrastructure. So Akamai is part of that embargoed company. So we do have the ability to see what's going on within all these vulnerabilities and integrate that into some of our protections. But at the end of the day, we've been doing this forever. I remember when I was blown away when the first, Metasploit came out and you could automate, pen testers could automate and integrate and rapidly do things. And I was like, wow, this is a game changer. And now we're seeing, things like Fraud GPT or Worm GPT. We're seeing criminal groups using GPT. Now we're seeing, security, we have bug bounties in pen testing, and now we're seeing that kind of mentality being applied through these large language models to say there's a number of vulnerabilities out there. I will caution people that knowing about a vulnerability and seeing it become operational in the wild are very different things. I'm not saying AI can't do that and make it part of a nation state or a criminal enterprise, but it is more than just finding the vulnerability. The second challenge is, as a CISO, I never didn't have a backlog of unpatched vulnerabilities. So now it comes down to how critical is the vulnerability? What's the impact to my network? Does it have access to proprietary or protected information? So, I'm not surprised this is happening. It's definitely worth reading about. But it's also worth understanding that, this is a natural evolution in the industry, and something that we should be able to continue to depend on things like Akamai's AI firewall and web application firewall to protect against.